Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the Runpreneur vlog, where we discuss all things entrepreneurship and running. It's a little bit warmer today, it's about 4 degrees, so in the grand scheme of things it's getting like spring-like conditions this morning. And it is Tuesday Tactics today, where we discuss all things business systems and outsourcing, things you can kind of implement into your businesses to hopefully improve efficiencies and make a big difference to your business going forward. And today's topic is how to manage remote teams. So as always, if you like this episode, please give it a like and a subscribe, and let's get started. So this is a question, how to manage remote teams. Now, this was a question that was posed in the Facebook group by Michael McCormack, and he asked staff and time management. Well, it was quite vague and broad, and I needed to ask a couple other questions. So rather than answer that, I'm going to focus more on the staff and the issue around time and staff management. And on the basis that I have a big remote team, it just made sense to try and answer that on the basis of managing a remote team effectively. So let's start by asking why this is so challenging. Well, managing teams of people, regardless, is a challenging process. It's trying to get the best out of people, trying to get people in the right roles, trying to keep people motivated, trying to deal with all the kind of issues that the people have when you start working with them. And ultimately, my feeling is that people equal problems. But that's okay once you kind of expect that, once you understand it, pure and simply because the three kind of main core aspects that are needed to systemize and scale a business is, number one is systems and processes, number two is people. So people are a major contributor to any business growth or scaling of a business, so you have to kind of tackle this one head on. The third one is data, but I'll talk to you about that on another day. So people is who we're focusing on today, and it's hard enough managing people in the face to face, or if you're working in an office. Obviously it's very different now whilst we're in a global pandemic and national lockdown, but there will be times when we go back to offices, there will be times when we work with people on a close proximity again. So these are challenges enough, but I'm talking to you more about managing a remote team. So if you can't just wander over and speak to Bob and check that he's doing okay, how do you manage people remotely? Well, that's a big challenge, and when you get it right, it's game changing. When you get it wrong, it's incredibly frustrating, infuriating, and it can slow progress considerably. So what do we do about this? How do we manage remote teams effectively? Well, one of the biggest fears that people have with managing staff remotely is, I can't see what they're doing. Are they doing the full graft? How long are they taking? Well, I'm of the mindset that there's software and apps to kind of help you with this. I use a piece of software called Time Doctor. Now my ex-business partner in systems outsourcing is against this piece of software. He goes down the more kind of trust process of filling in spreadsheets to record the time that people have spent on things, which is all well, but I've used Time Doctor for a period of time now, and it's saved me a considerable amount of money, because what I've been able to see is when people are not working or invoicing me for hours that they haven't actually been working on, and I can obviously make adjustments to the payments accordingly, and we make this fully transparent so that the team are aware that we pay off on an hour basis. Just going past someone. Morning. So you have to be transparent with this stuff, but what it does is it's time tracking software. So technically the virtual assistant or the remote worker, when they log in, they'll click the started and they'll select which task they're starting on, and the clock will start ticking. But every 10 minutes or so, Time Doctor in the background is just screen grabbing the activity, and it's logging the activity that's happening on their computer. And you might say it's Big Brother, and to a degree it is, but the compounding effect of having this software in place over the course of time ensures that your team, you have to make it clear at the beginning. If you don't make it clear, then it could be deemed a little unethical that you're almost spying on your team which isn't the case. But all I do very, very simply is get them set up. It then means that they're invoicing me accurately. I can spot check whenever I want to see the activity that's been produced, and I can see with the screen grabs every 10 minutes or so, because if somebody's working and the screen or the keyboard or the mouse movements haven't changed for an hour, then you know that person hasn't been working for an hour. Okay, it might be that you have an allowance for breaks and lunches and things, which I strongly recommend you do, but the point of the matter is that when you can kind of see an hour, you can probably turn a blind eye to, but if you kind of get to the stage where it's 4 hours and you see the same screen, then there's an issue, and you're kind of picking something up in advance. And although that you can potentially look at the root cause here as opposed to the solution further down the line, and you could argue that it comes down to how well you recruit, and yes, I completely agree with that. You can eradicate a lot of the bad eggs in the recruitment process. However, there will be times where someone slips through the net, and having something like Time Doctor allows the virtual assistant to automatically invoice you accurately, and then you can sync it up with your payment systems like TransferWise, etc., so that making the payroll is far more straightforward. So that's why I kind of use Time Doctor. Yes, you could rely on a spreadsheet and let them invoice you manually, but I've just known that to be a lot more open to error and a lot more open to the opportunity for them to kind of fabricate their hours. So I think there's a balance to get between trust and efficiency. I do trust my team implicitly, but Time Doctor just makes my life so much easier in terms of being invoiced for work and paying it out effectively. So it's a useful tool. I'll talk about Time Doctor in more detail on a separate episode, but that's one way we kind of manage some of the issues with managing remote teams, and is at least about software called Time Doctor. The second thing is how you have them set up in your kind of operations hub of your business. So how do you communicate with people? What are the rules around that? How do people manage their time? How do people manage their workload? Well, I use a piece of software called Asana, and I've talked about this a huge amount, and this is our operations hub. So anything to do with work being delegated or passed around is all run through Asana. It's project management software, so that's what it's for. And any communications associated with each task will also be hosted in Asana. If it's just general chit chat or just reminders or notifications of things, we link it with Slack. Okay, so that's kind of how the two things work together. Slack, if you're not familiar, is basically like WhatsApp for business, whereas Asana is project management software. So they're very different. The one area that Asana is a little bit weak is instant comms. On auditing communications on tasks, it's amazing. But it's not so strong on the instant communications. If you want a quick answer from someone and you ping them a message in Asana, unless they check their inbox in Asana, which they may or may not be doing on a regular basis, you might have a delayed response. Slack is like a little notification on your phone or your desktop. It just pings up and people can see pretty quick and easily. You have to be respectful of people's time when you're using Slack, because instant comms overall are a distraction, but there will be times where you just need to remind somebody and you can just kind of send someone a quick link to the task in Asana and they come back in. So how do we set things up with these two platforms with our team to make it far more manageable? Well, when you set up Asana, the way Asana works is you have this section called My Tasks, where essentially anything that's assigned to you sits in on your account, and you can look at everything that's assigned to you in one big long list. But there's not a lot of customization to that, and there's very little reporting you can kind of take on that. Now, if you remember, the third thing I talked about being the most important things in starting and scaling a business is I said systems and processes number one, people number two, and data number three. So if you want to be able to get data out of this stuff, so what we do is we set up a dashboard which is a separate project in Asana for every individual. Okay, now the beauty of this is that every project you can get analytics on, so you can see progress, you can see how much activity has happened, whereas if you just assign stuff to people without any structure, you wouldn't be able to track that. So having a dashboard, and with the dashboard you can customize it. So we have different sections for kind of daily, weekly, monthly recurring tasks. We have a goal section as well for the goals that person has for the next few weeks or whatever. You might have project-based tasks, you might have finance-related tasks. You can structure it how you want, so it gives the individual some structure to kind of how they want to operate their workspace ultimately. It's their personal workspace, is their dashboard. That's how you want to look at it. Now, the other good thing you can do with it is you can create automation in Asana. So when you've got multiple people, right, I've got, I think across the business now there's 15 people that have all got dashboards. If I was trying to manage 15 dashboards, it'd be a full-on job. So I don't do that. Now I can look at anybody's dashboard and look at the metrics and the stats of, task conversion rates and how many tasks they've been, how many active they've been, all this type of useful info. But I generally don't, because I trust my team now, and I have Time Doctor that kind of supports that. But what I do then is I work from projects. So when I'm starting to work on anything, I usually have 3 to 7 projects on the go at any given point in time that I'm focused on. Okay, there might be projects under projects that are kind of lower down the order, but my role as the kind of, I suppose, the visionary or the leader of the group will be to make sure that we drive forward and hit the goals of those 3 to 7 projects over each quarter, and over the course of a year as well. You might have bigger projects you're working to. So each one of these projects has a separate project in Asana. Now everybody who's involved in that project is added to it, and then we have weekly meetings on each project. Now it sounds like a lot of meetings, but some of them are really snappy and really quick. But I think, and some of them, as you kind of get more experience, you can delegate the running of these meetings to people, in your team. So you might have a middle manager that you can pass the running of these meetings to. But in the first instance, you want to have a project set up for each of the big 3 to 7 goals or projects you're working on. And then what you'll then do is you will have everybody who's involved in that project attend that weekly meeting. They'll be added to the project. Now any tasks that are assigned will be assigned at project level, okay? But you can create some rules within Asana whereby if I assign anything in a project to John, for example, then I can have a rule which says if I assign a project to John in this project, it automatically adds it to their dashboard, which is amazing, because then when you're doing these meetings, anything that's assigned out automatically appears on people's dashboards, so that when people work, they work off their own workspace, but when you attend meetings, you focus on project base. And the same works for me as well. I have my own dashboard, so when I'm doing my regular work, I've got it all structured in my dashboard, which is where all my prioritization of tasks, metrics and everything are in play, and I can look at my workload in one clear place, and I can report on it nice and effectively. So that's how you manage teams of people. Then all I have to do then is manage the projects that I'm heavily involved in, rather than the multiple people that are working on the projects, because I know that I can see the status updates on the project, and that directly corresponds to the people who are working on that project. So I don't have to check dashboards as much, because I'm more focused on project delivery as opposed to micromanaging my team, who I trust now. Now, when you first start with people, you can check in on their dashboards more frequently because you've got that capability. So you do have the flexibility of this model. But the basis is that you have 3 to 7 projects, no more than that, over the course of a 12-week period. You might have 3 to 7 bigger projects which last the whole year, but these projects you're focusing on a quarterly basis are a smaller aspect of those bigger projects, if that's made. So it's just breaking things down throughout time. Everybody who works for you has their own dashboard, and it's customizable, but the beauty of it is you can report on that dashboard, so you can see task completion rates, activity levels, all these types of things that you can evaluate a member of team's productivity, and you can compare them against each team member. So if you want to have a designated target for productivity levels, you can look at the average across the voices. Oh yeah, so that's really really useful. But then when you work at project level, where you have a team of people associated with a specific target, then what you can do is the people you've added, you can create rules so that whenever you assign something out to somebody, it automatically appears on their dashboard as well. And it's the same task, it's just in 2 different places. It allows the team member to work off their dashboard, but when it comes to weekly meetings on your projects, you can see all in one place all of the work associated with that given project. So I'm packaging all this up, and I will do I'll provide some kind of resources on this stuff in the future, because it's something that so many people get wrong. And then the other thing I didn't talk about is how Slack fits in. Well, when you're communicating with task related stuff, it all goes in Asana. But if you want a quick response, you just send the link to that task to that person in Slack, which integrates really well. Slack and Asana lots of cool things. You can set tasks up from Slack into Asana, and you can send comments and stuff from Asana into Slack. So it's a really, really nice synced process there. But you can then just nudge people, can you give me an update on this specific task? Send them the link, and then they'll click on the link, they'll update the task communication, and then they'll send a response to you in Slack saying task updated, and you just check the task. So the key is to ensure that all communication that's task or product specific stays in Asana, because that's what it's there for. And Slack you just use for instant comms and nudges and just reminders of things to kind of get people to kind of do what they need to do. So hopefully that answers the question. So if I was going to summarise how to manage remote teams, one is have some form of software in place which tracks their time and allows them to invoice you accordingly, so some form of time tracking software. I use Time Doctor. I'll do a separate episode on that. Number two, everybody needs their own workspace or dashboard in this instance to work from, and it needs to be customizable so you can report on the data side of things, but you can also give prioritization to that individual of what they need to work on and when they need to work on it, based on the kind of sections that you set up in their dashboard. And number three, all work should be assigned, most cases, at project level. So any of your key projects, you pull people in at project level, and then you assign tasks out from the project and create some automation around, and it goes directly to their dashboard. So it's probably quite confusing, and I understand it's quite hard to follow, but hopefully I've made it as simple as possible. But so many people don't get this right. If you don't, it gets overwhelming very, very quickly, and you spend all your life managing people, worrying about what they're doing and concerned about kind of data and performance. Now, you don't have to have all your reports in place at the beginning, but because you've set it up in this way, you can pull any of the data that you want, you can put it into spreadsheet format, you can analyse it. There's other software integrations that you can use that create your own bespoke dashboards, etc. They're all linked with this setup. So it is it's a car coming. It is a really cool kind of setup, and when you get it right, it just takes away a huge amount of stress and overwhelm and anxiety more than anything about you're constantly anxious. Is my team doing what they need to be doing, etc. So that's my recommendation. Get this set up right. If you're not using Asana and Slack, you can use other pieces of software and things that do a similar job. Morning. But I strongly recommend it replicates the same principles. So hope that's useful. As always, if you like this episode, if you've got any questions on this, just drop me a comment. I'll respond to every one. If it's a bigger question, I'll do a separate vlog episode like I've done for Michael McCormack today, and I'll tag you in. If it's irrelevant to you, no drama, just unfollow me. You don't have to unfriend me, just unfollowing will stop being notified on your personal social feeds. But before you do, please check out the Runpreneur YouTube channel, because I cover a different topic on every day of the week. So just because of today's topic may not be relevant to you, tomorrow or the next days may be super relevant. So do check out the YouTube Runpreneur channel, where everything's catalogued nice and neatly by playlist. So that's a cool resource. Also check out the link in my bios, where I'm starting to build out my free resources that accompany the vlog. The first one being my 70-step process for repurposing, reformatting and optimising your social media content across all platforms. So if you want to get more content out there and you want an efficient process and system to do that, check out that checklist. It's the exact model that I follow for my vlog that you probably see everywhere if you're seeing this today. So all I have to say is that the Runpreneur vlog was set up to help entrepreneurs and business owners overcome the emotions of stress, overwhelm and anxiety by using exercise, or in my case running, as a release mechanism to manage these emotions that every one of us experiences. It's often the difference between success and failure, how well you deal with these emotions. The ones that do it well can relieve the pressure on a regular basis, which gives them clarity and focus, and they move on and thrive under the pressures. The people that don't have that release mechanism, the pressure builds and builds and builds in the form of stress. It turns into overwhelm. And if overwhelm's not dealt with quickly, it turns into anxiety. And then one of two things happens. The entrepreneur breaks down, or the business breaks down, and either or is often terminal to the likelihood of your business lasting the test of time. Now, I've been there, which is why I'm talking about it. I've lost multiple businesses because of it. I've lost multiple business partners because of this, and I've almost been bankrupt because of this. So I've been to some super dark places on my entrepreneurial journey, and I'm so passionate about helping others avoid it, because I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So my pledge to you is that if you are someone that's struggling with this stuff, drop me a direct message. There's no catch here, by the way, I'm not selling anything. I'll just jump on a call and I'll give you some tips and advice on how you can kind of get yourself back on the right path as opposed to the wrong one, which as I said, I've been on, and it's not recommended. So don't be stubborn. Sometimes it's easier talking to a stranger than someone too close to home, and many of you have taken me up on this opportunity already, and we've already made some positive impacts on people's lives, because I always said, if this vlog just saves one entrepreneur or one business, it's been 1,000,000% worthwhile. So don't be shy, reach out if you are struggling with stuff and you need a helping hand. So that's it for me today. As always, if you like this episode, please give it a like, a comment and a subscribe. If you want to see more similar content, check out the playlist link on my YouTube channel. And all that's left to say is stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.